I would like to call the meeting of Independent School District 271, Bloomington Public Schools. Today is Friday, January 17, and it is 4 p.m. Would somebody like to move approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Agenda passes. So we're going to start with the right size in the budget 2020-2021 resolution. Would someone like to read the resolution, please?
Madam Chair.
Director Bennett?
Be resolved, the School Board of Independent School District 271 approves rescinding the action taken on January 13th to eliminate 2 non-required middle school courses, World Language and Tech Ed Computer Science, for right sizing the budget 2020-2021.
Second.
Okay.
Okay, so if we...
Go ahead.
So if we vote to pass this and this motion is successful, then that will remove the last action we made, and we'll have to start over to find the 2 courses that we want to eliminate. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay.
Okay, so we're ready with that?
eh,
Go ahead.
Can I just have the chair do a little bit more details on why we're having this meeting?
That is next in my
Okay, that's
agenda.
next. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for reminding that. So all those in favor of that? The resolution, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The resolution passes. So then I would like to continue now with my opening statement. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for your willingness to participate in this special school board meeting today, especially with the weather conditions that we have this afternoon. For months, we have received from administration numerous reports, presentations, and options to consider as we prepare to make one of the most important decisions required of us 7 elected school board members, the approval of a balanced budget for the 2020-21 school year. Over the past weeks, we have received feedback from several members of our community. Teachers, staff members, students, and residents have had an opportunity to participate in public comments. We also have received phone calls and emails. I want to thank everyone for caring about our schools and about the education of our students. The last few months have been an experience for all of us, at times frustrating and sobering because of our concern for how budget cuts will directly affect our students and their families, as well as our dedicated teachers, support staff, and leaders. I heard from some of my fellow school board members about procedural concerns related to our final votes in a rush process during our last meeting on Monday. I had similar concerns, and it is because of these that I called for this special meeting today. Therefore, we are meeting today to allow us to review our decision related to the middle school non-required courses in the last minutes of a long and difficult school board meeting last Monday. Because we owe it to you, to our community, to our students, that's the reason why we're having this meeting today, to make sure that we have correct procedure for the right votes. So tonight, we are focused on the middle school course discussion and decision only. There are no plans to reconsider any of the board's previously approved budget reductions. There will be no public comments tonight, and while our student representatives have been invited to join us, if you still want to come and join us this evening, this discussion, and I just lost the other part. I'm sorry. What happened to my other part of my speech? Okay, I can continue without it. But this discussion will be it will mostly happen between school board members today. So we appreciate student representatives and their insightful comments, and we believe that we have heard student voice as well, very clearly in our previous meetings, discussions, and deliberations. So I'm gonna respectfully ask all board members that we focus our comments on the matter at hand, to consider the information provided previously at this week based on requests from the board, and any commentary shared in an objective manner, free of personal reflections and life experiences. You have some materials in your folders, so please refer to that. Among the items that you have received this week is a middle school non-required courses chart, which provides how the 4 non-required courses, ticket, reading, facts, and world language, aligns with our strategic plan, Pathways to Graduation. I also You also are going to find the copies for the pathways and the strategic plan in your folder. So how this alignment has been represented to the community and how they relate to the district's long-term operational plans and the potential impact that it will have in our school district if eliminated. So with that being said, I would like to open it for discussion now. Would anybody like to start the conversation?
I guess I would.
Yes, Director Olson?
Sure,
Go ahead.
Carmen. First of all, I would like to say that I appreciate that you called for a special meeting. I think it was our moral obligation to do so because we had so little time on such an important topic, and it could take an entire meeting to discuss this one set of cuts, so thank you.
Thank you. Director Starks?
Okay, so we're discussing the four, that's where we're at? Okay.
Yes, that's what we're here.
So I apologize in advance, this might be a little long. So when I, at the meeting on Monday, abstained from the vote, the reason that I gave was that I felt like I didn't have enough objective information in front of me to make a decision between four very important courses in middle school. And then when the special meeting was announced on Tuesday, I asked legally, are we allowed more information to come forward in the next 72 hours to help inform our vote on Friday? And I was told yes. So I reached out to several folks asking for more objective data. I asked the district for what is called an impact statement, where you receive objective data that says if you cut this, this is the result. If you save this, this is the result. And I was heartened to see that we did receive that information from the district on Wednesday evening. So we have had some time to look at that. And it didn't just go to me, it went to the entire board. And so in reviewing the objective data, I'd like to go through some of the insights I saw from this, if that's okay. Okay, so one of the questions that I asked was, when we're talking about the different courses, how many minutes of instructional time do the students receive in that particular subject area now? And how many minutes would they receive with the new proposal? So I'm going to start with reading. Right now, our middle school students receive reading full-time in 6th grade, half-time in 7th grade, not in 8th grade. That's a total of 12,800 minutes of instructional time in reading. In the new proposal, they would receive 1/4 of instruction each year, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. That's 5,544 minutes. If you do the math, that's a decrease of 57% instructional time. So if we were to protect reading, we would still be seeing an almost 60% decrease in instruction in reading. So for me, that's an objective factor I can take a look at. The other three, tech ed, facts, and world language, I'll talk about tech ed and facts, they're right now on a trimester. They would move to the quarter. That's a decrease of 25% instruction time. And the world language is half-time 7th grade, half-time 8th grade, for another 25% reduction. So those three from that data point are equal, whereas reading is 57%. I can stop there if anyone wants to discuss that, or I can move on to my next set of data.
Director Olson?
Is that okay? Okay. So I also wanted to add that I did vote on my values, and my values were, are still, I still have the same values. However, I want to thank Heather, or Director Starks, because we each bring something different to the table, and it's all good. And one of the things that Heather has brought to the table is persistence, and she has been very persistent in discovering more facts for us, and that will be helpful in our decision. I would like to respond to the reading that she brought up.
Yep.
So I completely understand where you're coming from with the reading. I am concerned that because we also did the media center cuts, which I brought up before, which was affecting my vote on the courses, I am concerned that we would be cutting reading in both areas. And while all of these classes are very important, equally important, my other concern is that 2 of the classes have not been considered or are not considered as important as the others. Does that make sense?
Thank you. Director Starks?
Okay, and I do want to share, because I don't want to say that, it's not that this data wasn't necessarily shared with the board in the past, but it was shared in a more way where you kind of had to inference the impact. So the middle school teachers told us we were going from, 6th grade but we then had to kind of infer what that impact was. So I don't want to make it sound like we didn't have that information. We just didn't have it in a way that I could digest correctly. So I appreciate that. I don't want to make it sound like we didn't. It just was hard to figure out prior to this format.
Any other board members?
Can I just ask a question? Did you have other things you wanted to go through on there, or are we
I
open
do.
for discussion on all
Well,
these? I'm just trying to figure out where we're
I've got
going.
other factors that I want to talk about, but I didn't want to just buzz through them without giving people other times to talk.
Okay. Anybody else? As we continue the conversation about the 4 different classes?
I'm so sorry. All right.
Director Starks?
So here's factor number 2, proficiency versus exploratory. So one of the phrasing that's being used for these classes is exploratory, and if you think about what that means, it's exploring the activities. There's not necessarily proficiency inferred in that. And so the other thing that I was looking at for those factors was that the reading course it's a 45 days per year out of 180 days, and is that going to be enough instruction to help impact our test scores, which is one of the factors that we use for our pathways and whatnot. The other question that I did clarify with the district was if we have struggling readers, because we've received a lot of communication with, I'm really worried about our struggling readers. If our struggling readers are, not doing well, is there reading support for them outside of this reading class? And the answer is yes. So we're not leaving behind our struggling readers by reducing this course. They will still receive that instruction through ADSIS. I'm not exactly sure what that acronym stands for, but that was the feedback I got from the district. So that also helps inform my decision. World language. So right now, as the students receive half 7th grade, half 8th grade, those 2 things together equal like Spanish 1 or French 1, and they can then go their freshman year and start French 2, Spanish 2. In the new format, they get a quarter each of the 3 years, and if you do the math, that's 3 quarters. And I don't know, I haven't had a chance to clarify if that's going to be enough to still accomplish Spanish 1 or French 1. And I'm also concerned about, if you think about just how schedules work, if we have a 6th grader that got Spanish first quarter 6th grade, and then in 7th grade they get it last quarter 7th grade, how much of that retention actually is going to survive that time frame? So that concerns me. The other feedback that we did get from the district on this document is that a majority of middle school students still choose Spanish 1 or French 1 as a freshman, because they don't feel like they have that proficiency to move up. And if retained, they would be looking at offering only 1 world language, not 2. So that we may be losing 1 world language regardless of if we protect world language, we might only be protecting 1 of them. So that was a factor for me. The last one was tech ed. So there's a new computer science pathway started at Poplar Bridge and Indian Mounds this year for kindergarten through 5. And there's a computer science AP course in the high school. And if by getting rid of tech ed, we're creating what's called a donut, where we have programming for like 5 years, and then we have no programming for 3, and then we have programming for high school. And so I'm concerned about if we remove this, that we're creating that donut. So for example, if we were looking at world language and we had a world language pathway in elementary school, which Director Bennett, I think we should, as you mentioned on Monday, I'm not arguing that point. But if we had that pathway, I don't know that we'd be discussing getting rid of world language because we'd be creating a donut. So I kind of want to acknowledge that, that as well. So that's kind of in the proficiency versus exploratory. And so then that's where facts for me comes in too, is facts is, if you get a quarter of facts every 3 years, you're getting an introduction or an exploring a particular content area, but you don't necessarily have to have mastery of it to do anything in high school. So those were the other factors that I kind of was looking at when I was looking at the data.
Okay, thank you. Director Steiger.
So now that you talked about tech ed, I want to tag on to what Director Stark said. So I did mention when we were all here in our forever-long meeting that kind of went off the rails at the end, I guess you could say. I did mention that we had those 2 pilot programs, and several of you were here when we started those programs. And so I mentioned those programs in our elementaries, and that, to me, then we might as well go back and undo them. Why would we have them if we don't have a pathway in the middle school? So I was concerned why we would want to do that and eliminate that pathway. She referred to it as a donut. I said to someone else, you know, donut implies to me that I could still go around to the side because it's round, and it's much more like the whole bridge is missing to me than a donut, but it's the same concept, that why on earth are we having programs in our elementary if we're taking it away in the middle school? To continue that. Also, that is where the jobs are now, and that is where the jobs in the future, a large share of them are going to be created in those areas. And so I spoke to that these are the careers that our students need. And along with that, even I thought about, since then, the College and Career Academy, you know, we had so many businesses when we started that have contributed money. The reason they contributed money to that program is because they cannot find workers. And they want us to direct students into those careers because they are desperate for workers in these jobs. So I was just, I would have made that point more when I thought we were going around again, but that didn't happen. So tech ed was definitely my number 1. And so somehow that didn't come out when we did 2. So I just wanted to make sure, I'll put that right out there. And that's another thing I want to say. You know, because we are so careful about making sure we don't violate the public meeting, the rules around public meetings, this board is very professional in that way and do not talk about how they're going to vote ever before a meeting. And so I think because of that, we forget that here. In our discussion, we can talk about our votes. You know, this is our public meeting. We can talk all we want about what our number 1 is and what our number 2 is before we ever get to the vote. But I think we forget that because we're so used. So I was actually quite shocked, and I was first about how the rest of it went. So I'm hoping that we'll have more discussion before we ever get to a resolution this time. Thank you.
Other board members? Director Bennett.
Yeah, well, I think Director Starks pretty much explained exactly why I voted the way I did on Monday, which was for tech ed and facts. And it was primarily because of the time of how much these courses are going to be taught. If it was an everyday class or an every other day class, then my preference would be, let's keep world language. We got to keep world language. But I just don't know how much language acquisition can be made when it's on a quarter model. And you were saying 45 days, but maybe I'm thinking differently, but I'm thinking they're still doing A and B days, so it's only going to be every other day for a quarter. So really, it's only like 23 days.
Oh.
So 23 days of Spanish, I don't know what type of acquisition you're going to get for that. Same thing with reading. Reading is extremely important as a special education teacher. That's what I spend most of my time doing, is teaching reading. So I know how important it is. But again, how much reading proficiency are you going to get in 23 days a year? So that's really why I was for the tech and the facts, because I think that for an exploratory, that kind of gives people the exploration to explore these other options, and it also keeps our pathways from the tech and the computer science. So I'm still with those same two choices. And that's pretty much, Heather said everything else perfectly, so I don't think I need to add anything to it.
Good. Director Beebe?
Between our last meeting and today, I've done an awful lot of reading. Also, was at the convention for Minnesota School Board Association, as many of you are, well, all of you were. And it was very eye-opening, it was very informative, and, gave me a chance to really think further. The reason that I wanted to vote last time for facts and for reading was because I did not want, first of all with reading, I did not want our students to fall through the cracks, especially those that are needing extra help. They need as much practice as they can get. When Director Starks looked into it further to make sure that those students were still going to get their services and still get those interventions, I felt a little bit more freed up to look at a different choice. I still think it's important that we do facts because looking at our, it's where we tend to put our PGP, our professional growth plan, where the students can look at career planning choices, and also the benefits that it can be to our students with special needs, that it's a place they can fit in well, as I have heard from special ed teachers and parent. I also heard in the reading that we received how special needs students also can fit in and blossom in the tech ed courses. And because I think there should be something that kids can look forward to in a day that's a bit different, non-academic, it seemed like that has changed my position. And therefore, I'm looking more at the tech ed choice and the facts choice. Also, looking back at our goals, looking at what is a district priority, and what was started, as you mentioned, Director Steigoff, in our two elementary schools, and the need for that bridge. And then when they get to high school, they can do more in-depth exploration, specifically through our Career and College Academy, which is excellent. As a matter of fact, at the convention, that's where our district shines, is that we already have that in place. And there were a lot of vendors talking about some of the things that we're already doing. And so I want to continue that direction and that opportunity for our career and college possibilities for our students. And that's it.
Thank you.
I guess would have to say something too. And I think the convention that we attended yesterday was eye-opening, as Director Beebe had said. So often when we are making decisions, we're influenced by so many people that we have around us. And there's a whole variety we have 10,000 stories here in Bloomington, and, to listen to all of them and try and come up with something that's really significant and important. We've done that over the years with collaborative efforts here and there, but when we get to the convention and we go around and people say, well, you're from Bloomington, how is that STEM program going? And they're always curious about how we're doing, and so it's really important to know the decisions we make here for our own good are also being recognized elsewhere. It's unfortunate we don't have the super robotics that so many of the smaller outstate schools have in terms of building their cars and a variety of things like that. We have a lot of robotics classes and a lot of robotics interested students, so we'll get there. sometime, battery operated and whatever else that they have. It's been very important. So whatever I voted the last time, I can't remember or don't want to remember. I won't say what I'm going to be voting for this time, but just to know that we make decisions based on what we think our students really need.
Thank you, Director Sorrell. Director Olson?
Yes, I've gained a lot of information from going to the training for new school board members, and from going to workshops, and from listening to all of you and this new information that we have. And I went to hear a speaker today who wrote this book, Alan November, and this is about technology. And it's not that I didn't already know. I need to make sure people understand that I'm not anti-technology. I know it is important. My concern is the balance. I know that everybody's going to fight for technology, and everybody's going to offer technology in their classes. And I see students, as a substitute teacher, I see students on computers all the time, and they absorb it like sponges. And I know that tech ed isn't only about being on the computer as well, because my son happens to be majoring in engineering and physics. So I definitely know the importance. I just want to make sure that people, and he spoke about it here too, that we use technology wisely, and that we incorporate reading into everything, every class that we have, because we need the critical thinking skills. And one thing that he brought up is that we receive very biased information when we Google anything. It's how you put it in, and it's also just the fact that we're here in the United States. So when you Google something, if you Googled, for example, what's better, cats or dogs, you will see information come up why cats are better than dogs. If you Google why are dogs better than cats, you'll see information coming up showing why dogs are better than cats. So I'm going on too long, but I just wanted to say that he spoke about the importance that if students are using technology, they need to know how to find unbiased information. And it's very important if we're going to go that way, which clearly we are going that way. And again, I value all of these classes. My concern is that there are 2 classes that are not valued enough. So I just want to make that clear.
Thank you. Director Steiger.
I just wanted to say that I said tech ed was my number 1, so I was actually rather torn between reading and facts. But when I had to name 2, I thought, well, we're coming around again, I'll just say reading for now. But I am more than willing to go to facts with the rest of you. So if that helps us move it along, I am where Director Beebe is. I am facts and tech ed.
Okay, well, I'll give my take on these.
More comment over there?
Oh, sorry. Director
I'm not
Starks.
done yet, is that? Sorry, I'm not. Are you?
Go ahead.
Okay, so the other objective factor I used was staffing and revival of the program should it come available, or So we know that the state sometimes loves pet projects, so, I can see with dyslexia becoming more and more a conversation at the state level, that we might see more and more funding going into something like reading. And so I was looking at staffing, and I did ask this question to the district about how hard it is to staff. Both tech ed and FACS have high demand and low supply. And FACS, actually, there's only one post-secondary institution in Minnesota that currently gives a FACS license, teaching license. So, and tech ed, they're in high demand. So if those 2 classes were to be cut, getting them back could be a challenge, because we might not be able to find licensed staff, qualified staff. Reading, it's high demand, but supply matches that. A reading license is actually not a license, it's an endorsement on top of your current license. And somewhere I have it, I think it's 12 post-secondary institutions have it, it's higher. And then world languages are actually 19 post-secondary education institutions that offer world language. And I only looked at Spanish, but world language, it's hard to staff right now because our middle school model is not a 1.0 FTE for those teachers. So they sometimes have to teach in middle school and high school. So that's a staffing issue, but, so that was the other thing I looked at is staffing and revival. If we cut it, how easy would it be to bring it back? If we cut it, how easy would it be to get the staff back? And that was my third and final piece of information that I used with my decision-making, and I just wanted to share that.
Let's piggyback on that, and also the district has invested money in those tech and fax classrooms, that if we closed them, then that, all that equipment just stays there and, collects dust, so it's important.
Okay, thank you. Any other board members? Any other thoughts?
I would just like the public to be aware, I'd like to ask you so that we can, or maybe Superintendent Les Fujitaki, because many people do not understand, I was a strong proponent of teachers coming up with creative ideas to save all of our classes, right? I have heard creative ideas, and that would be ideal if we could save all our classes, right? But it is my understanding that that really is not an option due to, is that we don't have the option to save all 4 classes, correct? No matter how we do it, when people come up with ideas such as, well, you could offer 2 classes here and 2 classes there, or you could offer this class just in 8th, simply in 8th grade. We have heard so many ideas, and so I just want it to be made clear to the public that why can't we look at creative ways to offer all 4 classes? Would you be the one to, because the middle school teachers aren't here to ask. That's why I'm not sure who to ask.
Director Steiger.
I just wanted to say quickly that the middle school scheduling is very, very complicated. So some of that, I am relying on the 3 principals that were here, and they said, this is the best that we can do for the budget constraints that we're given. And so I'm relying somewhat on them to bring their best plan forward and say that to us. And I'm sure that they did not go into this wanting to ever make those cuts either, so I'm sure they're working very hard to figure out everything they can to not have to do that too, so.
Thank you, Director Steiger. Yeah.
Thank you, Board Member Stagoff. I agree. The 3 middle school principals have spent hours in my office exploring all these different options, and they struggled. And so they reported what their findings were, and they presented it to the board.
Director
Thank you.
Steiger.
So, I guess what then I'd like to just put on the record is a favor for the future, a question for the future. So when the presentations come forward from all of the various administration, we're hearing their final, here's what we've decided is the best option, but we don't get the, here's how we came to the conclusion that this is the best option. And I think sometimes if that information is shared at the beginning, some of this can be mitigated. We won't, because then we can say, well, yeah, as great as an idea of doing this would be, we've already heard why that's not possible. So I guess I'm just asking, it's kind of like when you come to a board meeting and you're like, why are you not talking about anything, you're just voting? I think we need a little bit more context in future decisions.
We'll do that from here on.
Thank you. And then the other factor that I just want to mention too, because I made it clear on Monday, is I still am frustrated we didn't ask for community input. I really think having parent and student voices in this was critical. However, I've come to the conclusion after a lot of thinking, I'm not willing to put the brakes on this decision because I don't think the timeline allows for that to happen anyway. I mean, we're too far. But that would be my other question or suggestion, favor, whatever you want to call it, is that decisions of this magnitude in the future have to have community input. However that looks can be decided at the time, but we need those voices to be heard.
Thank you. Director Olson.
Thank you. I completely agree with that, and I would also like to add that it would be nice if it could be done anonymously, because I think people would be much more free to, if it's a Survey Monkey or however you do it, especially teachers would be more free to say why, which they prefer or why they would prefer it.
That certainly will be a conversation for us to have in the coming weeks. Thank you. Any other thoughts? No other thoughts? Okay. Well, I could say that, of course, all of those courses are of great benefit to our students. Every single one of them offers a different type of positive impact in the lives and academic and personal lives of our students. So obviously, I know that if any of us could do that, we will keep them all. I like the idea of knowing, from what we have heard before from administration too, is we can look for other ways where we can incorporate the last of especially courses like reading. Looking at facts, it is a class that meets the vision of the district because it is part of the personal growth plan. So from that perspective, I'm inclined to go for facts. The fact that they're doing the personal growth plan puts them on certain pathways for their future. So I think this is important to remain, close to that vision that our district has. So in this case, we're talking about career in college, career planning, it gives different choices and different types of career opportunities to think about. In relation to Tech Ed, I see how it aligns with our computer and science program. So I think it is important that we continue in the path that we already started, like one of the board members have mentioned before. Board members have talked about teacher demand. And also, when it comes to teachers, the fact that we have female teachers teaching facts in Tech Ed in our district, it's very valuable as well. It's another role model for all of our students. Tech Ed is also part of our goal settings. We can see how students can apply different concepts of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So there's different concepts and processes in there. I like the fact that they also have an opportunity to look more into technology responsibility, how to use those correctly, how to use all the tools that we have that are provided in technology in a very responsible manner. Tech Ed is very related to the demands of the workforce in the future, so this is something that our students will always need. I think it is important to continue that when we start something in elementary school, that we don't have that gap, because that little gap in the middle school and then waiting until high school to go back to technology, it might be a big loss for our students as they develop their continuous learning and abilities in this area. So for that reason, I am in favor of those two. And besides that, the fact that facts and Tech Ed provide opportunities for all of our students. We have seen that it is providing different types of opportunities with students with different backgrounds and different skills, different abilities. So I think that's another very important point. So I think it's always good to remember for our board also to continue to look at the vision of our school district and our strategic plan when we're making those kind of decisions. So I think we're ready to vote. Am I correct? Okay, so as I had explained to you before, the way we're going to do voting this time is different than last time. So I decided we're going to vote on each one of the courses. And the way I'm going to do it, I have put the courses by alphabetical order. So I'm going to start with facts, then we're going to go into reading, Tech Ed, and then world languages. I'm also going to be calling board members in alphabetical order, last names, so that's the way we'll do it. Please remember, you can only choose two. You can only choose two out of the four. And so we will count all the votes, and then after that, if we happen to have a tie, then we're gonna vote again for the two that have the tie. Is that understood? Anybody, any questions? Director Starks?
So if we vote yes, we're voting yes to keep it?
To keep it, yes, thank you for saying that.
Okay.
Yeah, so when you're voting to keep or not keep. So it's a keep. So would you like to keep this class? And so you're gonna say yes or no. And we're gonna be keeping
Madam Chair?
record of the votes. Yes, Director.
Is there a motion or a resolution needed for this before we begin the voting?
I think the chair is just looking for a consensus at the moment before somebody makes a resolution.
To keep those two after that, then.
That's
All right.
correct.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start. So I'm going to just give you a couple of seconds to have those two choices in mind, please. Know what you're going to be voting for this time, because we can change our minds this time.
We're not doing this a third time.
This is it.
And
All right, we ready?
Wait, did you have a question first?
I was wondering if you could mention to the public as well, how many hours of these exploratory classes during the school year compared to, I know Heather has this figure.
Then we already
The
have
hours of
to-
exploratory hours during the school year in middle school
It's 18
compared to,
Yeah.
you know, how many hours are spent in the exploratory classes in middle school? You said 40.
So what number are you looking for?
18
So,
48.
well, okay, where I'm getting at is that no matter what, we need to maintain, I think, while we may differ on our opinion as to which classes are best for our students, and the public differs, the teachers differ, I think we can all agree that we need to maintain a positive school community for our students. I think that is, I do know that the best thing we can do for our students is maintain a positive school community. So whatever our decision is, that it's, well, it greatly affects our classrooms, our teachers, and our students. I'm wondering how many hours specifically are devoted to these exploratories in middle school.
Yeah, that is a chart that we already received. We all have the total number of hours per class. I'm not sure that we have that right now.
Okay, I'm sorry,
You're talking about
I'm not being
minutes.
clear,
Okay.
so we can go on.
Well, it's like,
Director Bennett.
it's like 1,800 minutes a year. That's how
Okay.
much they're going to have in the exploratory classes.
Okay, so what I'm trying to get at is that our children are going to be okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That was my point, if I could have remembered the facts and the numbers, which that is not what I am good at, is remembering facts
That's
and numbers.
important, yeah.
But I believe our students are going to be okay.
Okay. Thank you, Director Olson. Okay, so we're going to start with facts first, and I'm going to be calling your names. I'm going to start with, and remember, you're telling me if you want to keep it. Okay? Director Beebe,
Yes.
Director Bennett,
Yes.
Director Corman, yes. Director Olson,
Yes?
Director Sorum,
Yes.
Director Starks,
Yes.
Director Steiger.
Yes.
Thank you.
Wow.
Next, we're going with reading. Director Beebe,
No.
Director Bennett,
No.
Director Corman, no. Director Olson,
No?
What was that?
I'm sorry. This is the most difficult for me because I am obviously changing, and it's not that I'm changing my stance, the importance of keeping reading and balancing that. I wish there was some way that I could make sure that everybody incorporates reading into every class. I mean, they will. So I'm going to vote
Would you like to keep it or no? I know you want to keep it. So the question actually is your vote yes or no?
Or pass?
Can I abstain on it?
Okay.
No, that wouldn't be right to do.
It's your choice. Director Sorum?
No.
Director Starks?
No.
Director Steiger?
No.
Thank you. Next is Tech Ed. Director Beebe.
Yes.
Director Bennett.
Yes.
Director Corman, yes. Director Olson.
Yes.
Director Sorum.
Yes.
Director Starks.
Yes.
Director Steiger.
Yes.
Thank you. World Languages. Director Beebe.
No.
Director Bennett.
No.
Director Corman, no. Director Olson.
No.
Director Sorum.
No.
Director Starks.
No.
Director Steiger.
No.
Thank you. So I think it is pretty obvious. We have 7 yes for facts and 7 yes for Tech Ed.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
can I go and read
Director
the
Bennett?
resolution?
Yes, please.
Okay, be it resolved, the School Board of Independent School District 271 approves the elimination of 2 non-required middle school courses, World Language and Reading, for right-sizing the budget 2020-2021.
Is there a second? Thank you. Any additional discussion? No? Okay, so all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The resolution passes. Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Next in our agenda, yes, Director Bennett.
I just want to say a few comments after
Yes,
this.
please.
One is an apology to our students and our staff and our community for having to have this meeting. Like, I know it had all kinds of confusion and heartache for some, those who might have thought their jobs were safe on Monday and then now find out that they're not. So I really apologize for that. And also, just to clarify why we're here, I heard from some people that thought that we were doing this because administration wanted us to, because we didn't vote the right way. So they wanted us to come back and do it. That couldn't be further from the truth. This is 100% on the board. This is the courage of our chair, listening to her board members who had concerns with the process and wanted to get it right. So I'm thankful that we have a chair, so I thank Direct Chair Corman for doing this, because she could have said, nope, the vote's done, we're moving on. But she listened to her board members and felt that it was important to do it right. So I just wanted to make sure we said that.
Thank you. And I would like to thank all members of the community for being involved in this process, for all your messages, comments, participation during this time, and for your patience too. And I echo the same thing that Director Bennett said. We are sorry that this had caused a lot of different feelings and for the inconvenience of it, including the weather today. And I want to thank all board members for being willing to be here today as well, and to be open to the idea of continue to research more, explore more, listen more, and exchange ideas. And I want to thank Superintendent and the Banco who are here with us today, and to all members of administration, principals, and all the people that provided all the right information that we needed to come to this conclusion. So thank you all. And I think we are going to move to adjourn.
I'm good.
Somebody else would like to say something? Any other final thoughts?
You guys said it perfectly. I don't need to say anything else.
Okay, if we're good, then any motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Second?
The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
So that was not the outcome I expected.